Hello everybody, welcome to White Wanderer. I'm Jack and you join me today on the former trackbed of the Bembridge line. A very interesting railway which branched off the Isle of Wight Railway at Brading before circumnavigating the marshes to St Helens and crossing the estuary to Bembridge itself. Now, regular viewers will know that I do like a good mystery, especially if that mystery involves a rare railway artefact. But today I'm not actually here because of the railway itself. I am actually here because of an old photograph. Now, the railways in general over the past 100 years or so have become increasingly standardised. A practice that was enforced both during grouping in 1923 and of course nationalisation in 1948. That means that over time rolling stock especially has become more samey. However, this doesn't completely ring true for the Isle of Wight network, with much of the stock that ran all the way up to the end of steam in 1966 dating all the way back to the pre-grouping era. But by this time at least, the oldest of the lot in terms of carriages had been thinned out, and most of what was left were bogie carriages of various origin. However, if we travel back to arguably the most interesting epoch in railway history, the Victorian era, things were a lot more higgledy-piggledy. The island's railways would basically just run anything they could get hold of for a dime, which resulted in some rather interesting and characteristic railway vehicles shaking and rattling their way along the branch lines. The Isle of Wight Railway, for example, between Ryde and Ventnor, may have bought their first batch of carriages new from the maker, the famous Oldbury four-wheelers. But everything after that was a mishmash of different designs from a multitude of companies, such as the North London Railway and even the Metropolitan. These of course being the rigid eight-wheelers, of which many bodies still reside at the Dover in St Helens. For all the odd and atypical carriages that ran on the island though, some were very strange indeed. And here we come back to that photograph which I mentioned earlier. Now, this shot was taken at Carpenters siding, which is about where I am now on the railway, and it shows the body of an old brake carriage. Now, at first glance this body may just look like another Oldbury, and indeed it was built by Oldbury. But this carriage was actually completely unique and formed part of possibly the strangest passenger train to ever run on the island. See, this brake coach may have been built by Oldbury, but not for the Isle of Wight Railway. It was actually constructed for a line between Pontrhydydd and Hay in Herefordshire. Fantastically, this line was actually called the Golden Valley Railway. A very American sounding name for sure, but that wasn't the only American influence. In 1885, the Isle of Wight Railway were looking for some new stock to run on their newly opened Bembridge branch line, and in doing so they came across some old Golden Valley Railway coaches that they were subsequently offered. Now, these included our brake van and two rather unconventional six-wheeled saloons. Here's a St Helens station, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Anyway, long story short, they accepted the offer, and very soon the carriages made their way across the Solent. So what was so odd about them then? Well, much in keeping with the name of their parent company, they had somewhat of a transatlantic appearance, especially the saloons, which were of a metal construction with rather small windows and even balconies. It appears that these carriages were put directly into service on the Bembridge line. But oddly, it seems they were also hired out to other Isle of Wight Railway companies as well. In 1888, for example, when the Freshwater, Yarmouth and Newport Railway held a rather premature opening day, The first train to arrive at Freshwater consisted of an array of different stock, including our rather conspicuous saloons. Our brake coach then must have looked plain in comparison, perched on the end of the somewhat unusual train. But it had more in common with the saloons than first meets the eye. Looking at our grounded body photograph again, you may notice a slightly elongated roof. This quirk is a clue, because our van may have resembled an Oldbury, but from the back it was pure Golden Valley, with a balcony cut into the design encompassed by a metal railing. This detail makes this particular vehicle unique on the island, and perhaps the only one of its kind ever built. So then, what happened to it?
Now, the Golden Valley coaches may have been quirky, but they were far from practical, and very soon they were replaced on the line by more conventional stock. The saloons were converted into wagons, and our brake van was dumped at Carpenters siding, where it resided for a number of years before being cut up in the 1970s. Now, that is the official story from members of the Isle of Wight Steam Railway, who naturally would know more about the subject than I do. But there is a twist to the tale, or more a conflict of narrative.
You see, whilst online researching carriage bodies in the area, as you do, I came across this account of which appears to be a group of enthusiasts that had been on a good old day out carriage hunting in Gurnard in 2019. And on the list of spots, something rather familiar crops up. Golden Valley 45 Goods Brake Van, located by Gurnard Angling Club. Naturally, this had me very curious indeed. Why on earth would it be all the way out here?
Gurnard, though, as you may know, is a bit of a treasure trove when it comes to old railway relics. Even though there was never a branch line out here, many old railway carriages found their way to this part of the coast for use as chalets and summer houses. Many of these arrived in the 1920s and 30s, having been sold off by the railway after an overhaul of the rolling stock. Our photograph, though, dates to the 1960s, and given that that was taken at Carpenters siding in St Helens, over 12 miles away, how on earth would it have made it out here? I do, though, have an inkling as to where it may be.
You see, last time I came out here on a carriage hunt with my friend Gary, we came across what appeared to be the ruins of an old railway van, dumped alongside the overgrown footpath. We had difficulty identifying it, believing it to be an old Great Eastern Railway cattle van.
I think that this van body is what the group identified as the Golden Valley brake coach. The question is, are they right to do so?
Annoyingly, the body itself is situated down an overgrown, inactive footpath.
I'm going to get torn to shreds. I'm wearing a vest. What an idiot. The coastal path sign. It's not the coastal path anymore, that's for sure.
The coastal path here has been cut off because of land movement, and I do not recommend walking down a cornered off footpath.
It's rather sad actually to think that this bit of path may never be used again as the coastal path because it's falling away. It may just be left to nature, one of those paths that fades away. Right then, there it is. Question is it our Golden Valley brake? Now, I was told by a member of the Steam Railway that the best indicator of a railway van's origin is actually the strapping bracket, which I believe is this bit of metalwork up here. Apparently the company's initials, the original company's initials, should be embedded upon it, but it's very difficult to see. Can't really. It's so corroded, this is the problem. It's been here for a very long time. That's definitely the strapping bracket, but I can't see any initials. The question is though, is it our Golden Valley brake? I don't think so. I got a little bit excited because obviously this window here does line up with the window in the photograph on the end of the body, but on closer inspection you can tell that's a later addition. Of course the window could be at the other end, but looking through there all I can see are cross panels. I think then that Gary and our original assumption was correct. It's some kind of Great Eastern Railway van that was brought over to run on the Isle of Wight Central. Maybe a cattle van of some description, but you can definitely tell by the timbers, which are quite prominent. It's a shame though that the strapping bracket has no initials on it, because that would give us a definitive answer. Never mind.
It appears then that our 2019 carriage hunting party were wrong, and they misidentified this van as our Golden Valley brake. But then again, I am assuming that this was the actual body they came across in the first place. It is most likely then that our unique carriage was unfortunately broken up at Carpenters siding, as members of the Steam Railway have stated. But you never know. In the meantime though, this van remains rotting away on the edge of the crumbling cliff and footpath at Gurnutt. Hopefully before it does go, it can be correctly identified.
Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've got to find my way now back through the foliage back down to the road. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you check out, call blimey, some of the others on the channel. And also we have a brand new members club that you can sign up for extra White Wanderer videos and content. You can sign up for it by clicking the join button on the channel page. Just make sure that you're on a mobile or computer device when you do so, because you can't apparently join up on TV, but if you're signed in to the same account on your TV, you can watch the extra videos on there. Right, how am I going to get through here? There will be plenty of members only videos coming this summer, including a lot featuring the Steam Railway and the ongoing Ashy project. Yes. So if that interests you, then by all means sign up, and thank you in advance. But if you're not interested, then fair enough. The choice is completely yours. Anyway, I've made it. Again then, thank you very much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time. Take care.